Hello, welcome back to Erica's Little Welsh Garden. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I am down at the allotment in the Polytunnel and I'm going to be harvesting my overwintered onions that are just behind me there. Now this is the first time that I've ever grown onions in the Polytunnel over winter and I am so impressed with how well they seem to have done. Usually in the Polytunnel I would just grow my tomatoes and things over kind of the summer months really, and then as soon as the tomatoes finished in the October I'd pull them out and then just leave it completely empty until the kind of time that the tomatoes would need to go in next year. So I'm so excited and so happy that they seem to have done really well and they're ready for harvesting now. As I mentioned a moment ago, these onions were planted in October. They were planted from onion sets and the variety is called Radar. This is a shared polytunnel at my allotment, so my little area is about 1 metre square, which I think is about 3 foot square. So it's quite a small area and I put one whole bag of 50 onions in here. So they are very packed together. I did 4 rows of 8 and then the little tiny ones I kind of just dotted around. So it'd be quite interested to see how many I actually harvest today. But I don't think you can see actually from the video really how big these are. So I'm going to be harvesting them today and then we're going to take them home and kind of spread them out a little bit and we can have a look at them in a little bit more detail. Now when I put these in the ground in here in October, they started growing really quickly over that autumn period. As soon as winter came, they just kind of stopped growing altogether, and then when spring started, they just woke up again and started growing really well. And one thing that I'm so pleased with is that none of these onions have actually bolted. And if you don't know, what bolted means is they haven't gone to seed. Like this one here, this is on my neighbour's side of the plot. I think this is a spring onion, and as you can see it's got this really beautiful flower head on here, and after a little while it will produce some really nice seeds there that can be collected and grown for next year. But if any of these onions had gone to seed, what that means is it kind of sends a flower stalk up through the middle of that onion, and then that onion won't store very well. It will be very woody on the inside and it will need to be kind of used straight away. But none of these have actually bolted and I'm so happy. And I think the reason for that is with an onion it's biannual, which means that if you grow it from seed, it will grow really nicely that first year, and in its second year it will then flower. So when you grow onions from sets, they're already in their second year. So if they go through a frost or what they think is a winter, then they will go to seed. So because they were grown in the Polytunnel, they haven't actually had any frosts on them, or any heavy frosts anyway. So I don't think they realise that they've been through a winter. So enough of me talking now. I'm going to turn the camera around. Let's get these onions out and then we can have a little bit of a closer look at them. So to harvest these onions, I'm just going to be using a garden fork to gently kind of put in underneath the onion and lift it up really gently. I don't think though that there is a traditional way of harvesting onions. If there is and you know of it, please let us know down below in the comments. But I'm just going to be really careful not to pierce the onion at all, because that will mean that it won't be able to be stored. Wow, that is a nice size onion. If I can get 50 of those, I will be very happy. So that's all of the onions harvested now and I'm really pleased. I've not had a proper look because I've got some in the bag here and some on the ground, but if I kind of just grab 3 quickly, this seems to be about the average size, which is is perfect really, you know, for cooking, and they're not too small and fiddly to peel. But I do at the very back have a few smaller ones here. I think that was just because they were at the back and didn't get as much water. These, you know, are a little bit fiddly, and I would be very upset if that was the size of the entire harvest, but it's not. So what I'm going to do now is get these home, and then we can spread them out and have a proper good look at them. So here are the onions behind me now that they have been cleaned and they're ready for storage. Now traditionally with onions you would harvest them on a really sunny day and at a time when you don't have any rain forecast for a couple of days. Now I don't know if you can tell, but we've got some rain here today. We didn't have it forecast, and it was just a little bit dull this morning. So my plan was to harvest them, bring them home, leave them on this table like this for a couple of days so that they could cure really nicely in the sun. But that's not going to happen now. So these will be just going in some mushroom crates and then going into the greenhouse for kind of a week or so they can fully dry out before they can be stored in the house ready for the kitchen. Now please don't be horrified if you've wondered why I've peeled off the skins of the onion. I do it every year, and the reason being, you would usually kind of harvest the onions like this, leave them to dry, and then, you know, store them in the kitchen or whatever. But last year, or the year before I think it was, when I did that, you can see there's quite a lot of mud underneath and on the skins. And you know what, when I'm using the onions in cooking and stuff, I was getting kind of grit and dirt and mud on my chopping board when I was in the middle of cooking, and to be honest, it's not something I wanted to do anymore. So every year since then I will just harvest them, peel the top few layers off, and then let them get new brown skins over the next week or so as they dry. Now a little bit of a closer look, these are the kind of size of about half of my harvest today, so I am so pleased with them. You know, this is a perfect size onion, and considering I've never grown onions over winter before, it's a perfect little harvest that I kind of feel like I've got for free really. Out of the 49 onions, about 6 of them are these tiddly ones here. These were you know, the smaller ones at the very back, and I'm pretty happy that I've only got a few of these, but they won't be wasted or anything. They will be going into the kitchen later today for cooking in tonight's dinner. So there you go, a really simple little harvest that I've done absolutely nothing for. And these are much bigger onions than the onions that I grew over winter in the open ground in the allotment. So if you have got you know, space in your greenhouse over winter, these are a perfect crop that you can grow in between your tomatoes. The onions are now in the greenhouse where they can be stored for the next couple of weeks while they dry out. But I'm really hoping that we have some good weather for the rest of the week so I can bring them out and they can get dried in a couple of days. The good thing about these mushroom boxes is that you can stack them and still get really good ventilation around them, but I'm hoping they don't need to stay in here for a long time and that they can dry quickly outside, and then they can be taken and stored in the house to be used as and when we need them. I really hope that you've enjoyed watching today's video and it's inspired you to get growing some onions over winter in your polytunnel or your greenhouse. As ever, YouTube have some videos up now on the screen that they think you'll like, including the video of my harvest of onions last year, which is just up here at the top. So please go ahead and watch that, and I will catch up with you in the next episode. Bye!